Xtalks connects professionals in the life science, medical device, and food industries with useful content like webinars, job openings, articles, and virtual meetings to help you succeed in your career. This food industry-focused podcast brings together some of our editorial staff to share insights into the latest B2B industry news to help keep you up to date.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Xtalks Food Podcast. I'm Sydney Perlmutter, Senior Food Industry Journalist and Webinar Moderator at Xtalks.com, and this week I'm joined by Aisha Rashid. Thank you so much for coming today. So I'm going to start us off with a story about Kraft Heinz's new vegan hot dogs and sausages and sort of how they differ from the plethora of options out there. So, not last week, but the week before, Kraft Heinz made waves in the food industry by introducing vegan hot dogs and sausages under its well-known Oscar Mayer brand. And the significant move marks the brand's first foray into the plant-based arena with its NotHotDogs and NotSausages. And if that name sort of sounds familiar to you, or there's a ring to it that you just can't quite place, there's a reason for that, and I'll get to it in a second. So the new offerings were developed in collaboration with NotCo, a Chilean food tech firm renowned for its AI-driven approach to crafting plant-based food solutions. The products contain ingredients like bamboo fiber, pea protein, and mushrooms. And additionally, the offerings have the distinctive snap of the outer casing of typical hot dogs and sausages and the savory smokiness of Oscar Mayer products. So this initiative is part of a broader rollout of plant-based products by the Kraft Heinz Company. Past offerings include Kraft Not Mac and Cheese and Kraft Not Cheese Slices, which we have talked about a couple podcasts ago, probably sometime last year, and this addresses a growing consumer demand for plant-based alternatives. So in a press release, the CEO of the Kraft Heinz Company, Lucho Lopez-May, said, "We know people are hungry for plant-based meat options from brands that they know and trust. In launching the joint venture's first product in the plant-based meat category, we saw an opportunity to satisfy these consumer cravings, leveraging NotCo's revolutionary AI technology and the power, equity, and legacy of the Oscar Mayer brand." But why now? So despite the enthusiasm, the introduction of these vegan hot dogs comes at a rather challenging time for sausage alternatives, which, like many alt-meat products, have seen a decline in retail sales. According to Circana's data, the dollar sales for refrigerated dinner sausage alternatives, which is a relatively niche sector, saw a 21% decrease year over year, with volume sales down by 23.6%. Concerns over price and dissatisfaction with taste and texture are factors affecting consumer adoption. Inflation, of course, has compounded the alt-meat sector's difficulties, leading shoppers towards more economical meal options. And these market challenges have led analysts to speculate about the timing of the vegan hot dogs launch. And I was curious about the price difference because we always talk about how much more expensive vegan and plant-based alternatives tend to be. So I looked into it, and it's quite a significant and notable price difference. So traditional Oscar Mayer bun-length hot dogs, the regular hot dogs that you would find, are priced at $4.99 for an 8-pack. Okay, and in contrast to the plant-based version, that's available at $5.99 for a 4-pack. So you're getting 4 fewer hot dogs for nearly $1 more. And this results in an 88-cent difference per individual hot dog, potentially impacting consumer willingness to switch based on taste and texture expectations as well. So despite these current challenges, though, Kraft Heinz remains optimistic about the future of plant-based foods. Lopez-May highlighted the rapid growth of the plant-based sector and its expected expansion, projecting the U.S. plant-based market to grow from $8.3 billion in 2023 to $19 billion by 2030. So in a 7-year span, it's expected to go up about a little over $10 billion. So we'll see if that's true. And Kraft Heinz is betting on this AI-driven product development and Oscar Mayer's strong brand presence to ensure the mainstream success of their vegan hot dogs and sausages. The company aims to attract flexitarian consumers, so those consumers that are not fully plant-based or vegetarian, but often, want to try some vegetarian stuff as well as traditional meat. So yeah, they're hoping to attract flexitarian consumers that are looking for a plant-based option that, of course, don't compromise on taste, texture, and variety. So Oscar Mayer's Not Hot Dogs will come in bun-sized lengths, with the Not Sausages being available in both bratwurst and Italian flavors. And these products are slated for a nationwide launch later this year, perfectly timed for the grilling season. So I just, chatting about this, I'm noticing that, of course, Kraft Heinz Company is relatively defensive over the timing of this launch, and just insinuating that the plant-based sector is still on the rise and it's estimated to reach 19 billion by 2030. But then, I'm talking about the price difference of these vegan hot dogs versus the traditional Oscar Mayer hot dogs, and, we're looking at this 21% decrease year over year. So what do you think about this timing, Aisha? Do you think that, maybe there's still a bit too much faith in the alt meat sector? Do you think that they'll continue, like, per individual, sort of sector? I know that the refrigerated dinner sausage alternative sector is a bit niche, like I said, but do you think, they'll continue to decrease, or do you think that, this launch could actually prompt some sales and interest because it's a well-known brand?
The latter is a great point, actually. So it could very well be that. And actually, I was surprised to learn that Kraft didn't have previously a vegan hot dog or a plant-based hot dog. So that came as a surprise to me, first and foremost. But yeah, the timing is indeed interesting because, sales of plant-based products, as you've outlined in the article, have been declining. So maybe, maybe Kraft is seeing this as a market opportunity. Maybe there's less competition in this space, given the trends that we're seeing. And maybe they're looking at a longer term outcome where maybe they're hoping that sales might pick up and they want to be a part of that. So it could be a number of different factors, but yeah, the timing is indeed interesting. It's definitely a risk, and I'm sure a company as big as Kraft Heinz, they've probably done their market research and have definitely come to a reason why they think this is an okay time to go ahead with this launch, and definitely must have conducted a risk-benefit analysis and all of the things that go into the food business and food marketing. So yeah, definitely an interesting time, and maybe they're confident in their product. Maybe it does taste so much better than competitors, and maybe they've perfected a certain technology or recipe. So it'll be interesting to see the reception.
Yeah, now that, I'm thinking about it, it is kind of rare for a traditional meat company or a company that sells meat products to have a line of plant-based products under the same brand, because in the past, I think JBS, which is a really big meat distributor and company in the US, they've acquired plant-based meat companies, so they've owned them, but they've not necessarily released their own line under their own brand names or whatever. So it's actually, quite rare for this sort of thing to happen. So I agree with you. I think that, they're sort of relying on the brand recognition, to pique interest. And what do you make of the price difference? You're getting 4 hot dogs for $6, and the regular 8 hot dogs, or the traditional hot dogs, for $5. What do you make of that?
Yeah, that's tough to swallow. It's quite a significant difference. Obviously, you're getting half the amount for a higher price. But again, I think you perhaps can't compare the two products. It's like comparing apples and oranges, right? So food tech that goes into plant-based or vegan products is totally different than than meat-based products. And I think consumers do understand that to some degree. So perhaps it won't come as too much of a surprise. But again, it depends on who the target consumer is going to be, which isn't very clear actually with this. You did mention that could be, a flexitarian, for example, who might just want to incorporate more plant-based products into their diet from time to time. So it really depends. There are so many, factors at play, but yeah, the price definitely will have people thinking twice, especially in this economy with inflation and coinciding with shrinkflation in a lot of food products we're seeing. So yeah, I think people are probably going to be thinking twice before splurging on something like this. Again, given how the economy is going right now, but I just feel, I think Kraft Heinz is pretty optimistic. They know something that maybe we don't, because they're all gung-ho and going ahead with this despite everything. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before of like, I kind of agree with you on the sort of who are they targeting, because, if they were just targeting vegetarians and vegans, I feel like hot dogs and sausages are one of the foods that is, it's kind of like mystery meat, and even meat eaters don't always love hot dogs and sausages just because they're such an amalgamation of meat. And so I'm not sure if all vegetarians and vegans would be willing to give this a try. But certainly I guess flexitarians and those at least curious about it. I mean, I'm always typically curious about these things. Have I ever really purchased them? Not so much. But yeah, maybe I'm not the main target for something like this. I don't even really like hot dogs, so
and maybe it's a seasonal thing too. Like you mentioned, barbecuing season is coming up, so like maybe I'm not a big hot dog eater either, but having them at a barbecue is it's nice to have, right? So it's a once in a while kind of a thing. So maybe, I don't know, or maybe there are avid hot dog eaters out there. We just don't know. So yeah, and I guess to have a vegan option, definitely. It seems like the more options, the better in some cases, but I just feel like it's overload sometimes with all of the options, like going through grocery store aisles. And you have so many companies that are niche, plant-based, dedicated to producing, just plant-based or vegan products, versus now you have, but Kraft does have the advantage of the brand recognition, definitely.
And I was sort of thinking that, because Kraft Heinz is such a massive company, that maybe they could, I guess subsidize the cost of the tech that went into it, based on, with the revenue coming from all their other brands. But I guess maybe not to start with. Maybe the prices will come down, although I never really know whether there's an incentive to bring down prices, especially in this day
I don't
and
think
age.
I haven't really paid attention, but do prices of like new products that are launched eventually come down over time in the food sector? I don't know. Is it like a TV? Like when you have a new model of a TV and then they're expensive at first, but the prices come down? I don't know if you really see that in food. I don't know.
I don't know either. And I think actually a strategic move for this type of product launch would be to, if they don't already, partner with like sporting facilities, selling these types of things at baseball games, I think would be a really big hit, because I can just picture that. So maybe they also have some partnerships like that in the works as well.
That makes sense. Yeah.
All right, well, moving on to our next story. So, I recently came across a new study about precision fermentation that was published in the journal Current Opinion on Biotechnology, and it provides some pretty compelling evidence that this technology could be the key to future of food sustainability. So, this innovative approach not only enhances the quality and flavor of our food, but it also plays a crucial role in ensuring food safety and sustainability. So, I'll dive into how precision fermentation is setting the stage for a revolution in the food industry. So, one of the core findings of the study is its potential to drastically improve food quality. By genetically editing microorganisms, scientists can now manipulate the metabolic pathways to produce foods with desirable properties. And this means that we can have fermented foods with improved flavors and nutritional content, meeting consumer demand for tastier and healthier options. But moreover, this technology allows for the production of specific food ingredients, including those that contribute to a savory taste in dishes, sourness in soft drinks, and essential enzymes in cheese manufacturing. So precision fermentation ensures that these ingredients are produced economically and sustainably, making it a game changer in the food industry. So in terms of safety, food safety is of paramount concern in the food industry, aiming to reduce both immediate and long-term health risks. So precision fermentation, this study highlights how genetically engineered microorganisms can inhibit the growth of foodborne pathogens. This not only extends the shelf life of foods, but also ensures that they're safer for consumption. Through the strategic manipulation of microorganisms, precision fermentation offers a promising solution to some of the pressing food safety issues in production. And I'll also talk about how it can improve and contribute to sustainability. So it's always a growing concern, sustainability in the food industry, especially with the anticipated increase in global population and, of course, demand for food. So precision fermentation, this study underscores the role of this technology in promoting sustainability. And like I said before, by using these self-replicating microorganisms that produce minimal waste, precision fermentation paves the way for the production of food ingredients from renewable substrates. And this approach aligns with the increasing consumer demand for sustainably sourced food, highlighting precision fermentation's potential to contribute significantly to environmental conservation. But this is all well and good, but of course there are some challenges. So despite all of these benefits, the precision fermentation industry faces some challenges, particularly in consumer perception. So words like bioengineered and genetically modified often provoke negative reactions, and the study proposes a new system for categorizing genetically engineered products to improve public perception and acceptance. And it's crucial for the industry to work towards demystifying these technologies and highlighting their benefits for the food system and the environment. So I've talked about precision fermentation before on several podcast episodes, but I'll just talk about some real-world applications of it. So it's at the forefront of creating alternative proteins and dairy products, providing solutions for vegetarians, vegans, and those with dairy allergies as well. And it allows for the production of animal-free dairy proteins such as casein and whey, which are identical to their cow-produced counterparts. And these proteins can be used to make cheese, yogurt, and other dairy products without animals, reducing environmental impact and enhancing animal welfare. So precision fermentation also plays a critical role in the nutritional supplement industry. It's used to produce vitamins, amino acids, and other essential nutrients with higher purity and lower production costs compared to traditional extraction methods. So this not only makes nutritional supplements more accessible, but also ensures that they're produced in a more sustainable and environmentally friendly manner. Many food tech companies are leveraging precision fermentation, including Perfect Day, which I've talked about before, a company called Gelter, Impossible Foods, which of course we've all been familiar with, and Motif Foodworks. And as technology advances and consumer acceptance grows, the impact of precision fermentation is expected to expand, leading to more sustainable and ethical food production practices worldwide. So this study offers a glimpse into the future of food production, emphasizing its potential to enhance food quality, safety, and sustainability. And by leveraging genome-edited microorganisms, this technology can produce fermented foods and ingredients more efficiently and sustainably. And of course, these challenges exist, particularly in consumer acceptance, but the continued growth and development of precision fermentation is essential for a sustainable and resilient food supply. And as we move forward, it'll be exciting to see how precision fermentation continues to transform the food industry, making it better for consumers and the planet alike. So just sort of in layman's terms to explain what sort of products we would get out of precision fermentation, it's essentially the exact copy of like a cheese or a milk, except you're not needing to use any animals. It's genetically the exact same, but yeah, we're not relying on animals for it. It's still kind of up in the air whether precision fermentation produced foods would be considered vegan and vegetarian. And that's kind of what I wanted to ask you, Aisha. Would you consider a cheese, let's say, that was produced via precision fermentation, would you consider that vegan?
That's a great question. I think it depends on what I know there's, what definitions of vegan might vary among some circles, but I guess the main is that you don't have any animal products being used. So in that sense, maybe, but you're still using microorganisms. Now, are those considered, vegan? I don't know. So the idea here, as I'm understanding, is that they're taking microorganisms which are already used in fermentation processes, but they're just editing them to enhance or to bring out certain properties. So I don't know if it would be vegan per se, actually. So we'll have to ask someone who's vegan. But yeah, it's very interesting, this technology. And again, we've talked about genome editing, I think, a couple of episodes ago, in terms of genome edited foods. So I think, yeah, this is definitely a huge trend in the food space that we're hearing about now. So precision food editing and now precision fermentation. I think it's very, very interesting. And yeah, again, because you're still using microorganisms, I don't know. Is a bacteria or something considered vegan? I don't think like that. I think this would still be considered vegan, but who knows? I think definitions may vary.
Yeah, I'm kind of two minds on this one as well. I think what what I've seen come out of the precision fermentation industry is a new term, which is animal free. So and some might consider that vegan, some might not consider that vegan. I think the hardcore vegans who or the group of vegans who don't eat animal products, for as their dietary preference, may not consider it vegan. But the ones that are those vegans that choose not to eat animal products because of the harm it does to animals, maybe they would consider it vegan, and maybe they would be willing to try these types of products. What I really think that precision fermentation products, or the role that they'll play in the future, is just sort of working alongside with traditional dairy and eggs, just to keep the supply and demand in check. I think that is how we're going to see it play out. And I do think that there will be more acceptance for things like this than there would be for things like lab-grown meat. Do you have an opinion on that?
I think the difference is just the scale, but the idea is the same if you think about it, right? You're growing microorganisms, bacteria, and things like that in the lab, and then you're genetically altering them. And so you're still using cells from an organism, essentially, and doing all those manipulations in a lab. So the scale is smaller because they're microscopic, but I think essentially it's the same idea. Lab-grown meat, you're you have cells at the cellular level. I mean, microorganisms also are usually, let's say we're talking about a bacterium, a unicellular, a single-celled organism, versus you're growing lab-grown meat. You obviously have tissue and a lot more cells involved there, but I think the concept is the same. But I can see how it may be perceived to be different for sure. So yeah, it's interesting. And the other thing, I'm just thinking that this precision fermentation technology, or the end product, is it going to be geared towards vegans per se? I don't think so. I think it's just like you've listed so many other reasons as to why it may be preferable, or the benefits and advantages of it, sustainability, and food safety and things like that. So I don't think necessarily that this is geared towards a vegan outset, or a vegan kind of a situation or context per se.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just going to sort of work in tandem with existing industries to help, with a growing population, and to keep up with demand. And we're just at the beginning of starting to see products roll out as well. So we'll have to wait a couple of years to see how many more products we start seeing, and how they're being advertised, and whether they'll be labeled as vegan, or whether they'll just be animal free, how much people understand and know about it. Like there's a lot of learning curves for consumers in the food industry, and a lot of misconceptions, obviously. So yeah, getting over that hump of educating consumers and getting them to, understand that these foods are safe, will be quite a challenge. And I think that's, that was important to mention, especially in this study as well. But I definitely see the value in it, vegan or otherwise. And yeah, I'm excited to see where this industry goes. And I'm curious to see whether, we'll see the same thing with the NotHotDogs and NotSausages. Is it going to be much more pricey? Is that going to discourage people from wanting to try these things? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because, a lot of these new products have novel technologies and it costs more to make them. So, and we'll see whether consumers are willing to open up their wallets further for trying and experimenting with these new kinds of different food products. But yeah, definitely it's going to be interesting to see how they label and term these things, because as you mentioned again, there's still a lot of stigma, fear, uncertainty, and hesitation around anything that's genetically modified. And now you have genomic editing and precision editing. So it's going to be interesting to see the public reception and how food makers are going to market this.
All right, well, that's the end of this episode of the Xtalks Food Podcast. If you like today's show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Thanks, everyone, and see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Xtalks Food Industry Podcast. If you enjoyed our discussions today, please share the episode with your friends and colleagues, and be sure to subscribe in order to be notified when a new episode is released. To join in on the discussion, you can find Xtalks on social media. Email podcast@xtalks.com or comment on the articles directly. Links are in the show description. Take a moment to join our community at xtalks.com to get access to everything we have to offer, including webinars, job listings, virtual meetings, articles, and more. The views and opinions expressed in the podcast are those of the speakers sharing them. They should not be taken as professional advice and do not necessarily reflect the policy or position Honeycomb Worldwide. For further information, email us at podcast@xtalks.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.